This is Doug Bradley, and on behalf of everyone at Renegade, I'd like to welcome you to this first volume of Spinechillers audiobooks. And I'd like to begin by saying a few words about the writers and stories collected here. The first tale is The Signalman by Charles Dickens. As he is surely the best-known and best-loved writer in the English language, apart from Shakespeare, he really needs no introduction. Born near Portsmouth in the year of Waterloo, 1812, he became the most popular writer of his generation as well as a tireless campaigner for social reform. His health, seriously affected by his involvement in the Staplehurst rail crash in 1865, he died exactly 5 years to the day following the accident, aged 58. And it's that train accident in Kent, which killed 10 passengers and injured a further 40, that interests us here. The section of track crossing the River Belt in Kent had been undergoing some repair work, and in the process 2 rails had been removed from the track. Appropriate warning signals had not been placed. It seems the foreman had consulted the wrong timetable and thought the train would not be arriving for another 2 hours. A red flag was shown, but the flagman was too close to the construction site, and although the driver applied the locomotive's brakes, he was not able to slow the train sufficiently. All the first-class carriages bar one, the one in which Dickens and his companions were travelling, crashed from the viaduct, which had no guardrails, into the river below. Having helped his companions out of their carriage, Dickens spent time tending to the injured and dying. One passenger would credit him with helping extricate him from the wreckage, and another would describe him running amidst the scene, his hat filled with water, attempting to help the stricken passengers, before reportedly returning to his carriage to retrieve the unfinished manuscript of his novel Our Mutual Friend. A whiff of scandal attached to Dickens' presence on the train, too, for his companions were his mistress, Ellen Ternan, and Ellen's mother. The 3 were returning to England from a holiday in Paris. Dickens managed to avoid being called as a witness at the inquest into the accident, which would have made his relationship with Ellen public. He remained nervous of trains and would avoid travelling by rail if at all possible for the remaining years of his life. And as The Signalman was published a year later, in 1866, there can be no doubt that the shadow of these experiences hangs over the story, although the actual model for the story was probably an earlier accident at the Clayton Tunnel near Brighton in 1861. Confused red flags and signals given to 3 trains which left Brighton travelling north in a 7-minute period led to the 2nd and 3rd trains colliding in the tunnel and resulted in 23 deaths and injuries to another 176 passengers. Dickens takes these multiple confusions and weaves them deftly into his multi-layered ghost story. The Signalman was published in the Christmas edition of a magazine called All the Year Round, a weekly literary magazine owned and edited by Dickens. He launched it in 1859, and it would be continued after his death by his son until 1895. Our next story is August Heat, published in 1910, when its author, William F Harvey, was just 25. Harvey had been born into a wealthy family in Yorkshire, northern England, and pursued a career as a writer in spite of obtaining a degree in medicine. A Quaker by birth, he would not join up to fight in the First World War, and enlisted instead in a Friends ambulance unit founded by the Quakers, and was subsequently a surgeon lieutenant in the Royal Navy, and decorated for bravery, an act which also left him with lung damage for the rest of his life, caused by smoke inhalation. He continued to write after the war, and died in 1937 at the age of 52. August Heat is brilliant in conception and execution, as the story's narrator unfolds the strange trail of events that must lead to an inevitable conclusion, which by definition he will be unable to tell us about. The second W. F. Harvey story included here, The Beast with 5 Fingers, is, well, if you'll forgive me, a different beast altogether. It's a genuine monster story, but the monster, a disembodied hand, is one of the most original ever conceived. Do we hear the voice of the frustrated surgeon with a dark imagination in that disturbing creation? It was this story that led to a revival of interest in Harvey's work when it formed the basis of the 1946
Sample complete. Ready to continue?